This is All India Radio. In the program Spotlight, now we bring you a discussion on Clean India 2.0. The participants are Swati Singh Sambiyal, Environmentalist, and Renu Kataria, AIR Correspondent.
Swachhata Abhiyan, which was started by Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi during 2014, has made remarkable headway. The Clean India program is in continuation of initiatives spearheaded by the Prime Minister with renewed focus and commitment. As regards to the Abhiyan, Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports has decided to launch nationwide month-long Clean India 2.0 program from 1st to 31st October 2022, which aims at collecting 1 crore kg waste, mainly single-use plastic, to be disposed of with the support and voluntary participation of citizens in the spirit of Jan Bhagidari. So, Swati, I would like to ask you, what was the one significant impact of last year's campaign and how much successful was it?
The country's Clean India mission has been running on for a while, since 2014, and there's been a remarkable progress, starting from behavior change to initiatives on the ground. Specifically in regard to this campaign, which started last year, of course, the focus has been a lot around awareness raising, behavior change, social engineering, and involving different stakeholders into the cleanliness movement, which would mean right from city functionaries to important players within the city, to some religious groups or other players, hotel associations, residents' welfare associations. So basically roping in each and every member, which is a stakeholder within the city when it comes to waste management, and engaging them into various activities and drives. Of course, the focus here has been more around cleanliness drives. So of course, this started last year, and there was remarkable progress wherein different cities participated in various campaigns, starting from campaigns in schools and colleges, to local level campaigns like plogging, where you jog and pick waste around, or other events which were stitched around awareness raising and, collection of waste. Also, there's been a significant progress when we transition from last year to this year, for the fact that people do realize that waste is a problem, and as a generator, it's everyone's duty to contribute to the movement of cleanliness, not just the municipality, not just the city functionaries, but each and every person has to ensure that they are mindful of their consumption, especially when it comes to plastics. They should be reducing SUPs, but also, being minimalistic about their consumption, their footprint, and also ensuring that waste gets segregated and collected properly. So I'm really looking forward to this 1 month and what all activities will happen as a part of this Clean India Campaign 2.0.
And when you speak about the kind of waste, we also know it is the single-use plastic waste that we are looking at. But what else, apart from this, is the government looking at? What kind of waste, and what are the hotspots that the government is targeting, especially when it comes to Clean India 2.0?
Of course, single-use plastic, as is listed in the press release, will be a major focus, considering it's a big menace. If we talk in terms of statistics, we generate about 25,000 tons per day of, plastics, of which only about 60% gets collected. Remaining is a part of the litter that goes on land, on water, or gets burnt. So it's polluting the environment, not just air, but water. And so, of course, plastic is a huge menace, and that definitely would be the focus. But apart from that, there would also be awareness raising around basics of Swachh Bharat mission, for instance, which is segregating our waste into 3 components, ensuring that it's handed over properly. Also drive for people in the municipality or staff in the municipality that are responsible for maintaining the channelization of waste, or for people who are an integral part of the waste value chain, both formal as well as informal. So basically this year, of course, again, it would be a lot around behavior change, awareness raising, but stitching different stakeholders together.
What kind of a behavioral change, Swati, do you see that we have witnessed in the general population regarding the cleanliness drive, especially since 2014 when the Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji launched the Swachhata Abhiyan?
Well, of course, there's been a transition in our mindset when it comes to waste. I mean, look at the general outlook of littering, for instance. You don't see people throwing things around, which was a common norm prior to 2014. In fact, we never even talked about the basics of waste management, be it segregation at source. Waste management was majorly, before 2014, was all about passing on the parcel. That you put your waste in a dustbin, someone else picks it up, goes to a dhalao, goes to a processing site, and most of it was still being disposed, which is not being managed properly. In 2022, when we look at the management of waste, a lot has changed in cities. We are segregating our waste. There's awareness around waste management. There is awareness around single-use plastics. People are aware about the bans. And of course, enforcement as a component may be tricky. It may vary from city to city, state to state, and that completely depends upon the level of compliance and enforcement, which is there in cities, or the level of administrative and political support that could be there in cities. But definitely in every state, in every city, you see change. If there were cities that were strewn with garbage many years, 5-6 years back, today you see there's a change. You see that there's been infrastructure development, there's been processing sites that have come up, and there is a conscious focus to reduce dependence on land for disposal, which means to maximize the processing. And definitely when it comes to behavior change, there's been a huge leapfrog. As I said before, people know that it is their responsibility. They are responsible for the garbage that they generate. They are responsible for their footprint, the consumption, and definitely people, laymen would now understand that, it is their duty to keep their cities clean. So definitely this mission has mainstreamed cleanliness. And I really want to see a change where segregation and consumption and reducing it becomes like brushing your teeth. You wake up, you brush your teeth, and you wake up to segregate your waste. It becomes that normal. But definitely for even countries abroad, it has taken years and decades to make the shift. And I think we definitely have made a remarkable progress in all these years in terms of initiatives and activities and the changes that we see in cities today.
So we know that there have been adverse impacts of single-use plastic items on both terrestrial as well as aquatic ecosystems, including in marine environment, which are globally recognized. But can you also talk about a few steps that the Government of India had taken for mitigation of pollution caused by single-use plastic?
Definitely. So as we all know that, when we talk about various figures, one of the figures is that by 2050 there'll be more plastic in the sea, in our oceans, worldwide than fish. Or there've been studies where plastics have been found in our bloodstream, it has been found in food products. So clearly plastics has infiltrated our lives in many ways, and it's very difficult to avoid its consumption because it's so much everywhere, which makes it even pertinent to understand that what are the different types of plastics and which plastics we should avoid. And here SUPs, or single-use plastics, definitely a concern. Why they are a concern? Because they only have a one-time use. For instance, your carry bag, you'll just use it and throw it. So clearly when we talk about the initiatives that have been brought forward by the Government of India, they've been quite remarkable. Since 2018, 2019, a lot of work has happened, and it has definitely, speeded up in past 1-2 years, right from bringing in the single-use plastic ban policy, which bans over 12 different types of single-use plastics, or raising awareness around plastics, or the extended producer responsibility guidelines, which ensures that producers and manufacturers of plastics are liable for the amount of plastics that they produce. So they need to be responsible for it, and then they need to arrange infrastructure for collection of the polluting plastics, which is SUPs. So these are some of the remarkable steps at the policy end, but also at the implementation end, we see a lot of work now that is happening in states, because the SUP policy is out. So every state basically has to ensure that there are measures created, look into alternatives, what could be an alternative for a carry bag or a cutlery item, and bring it in the market. And also at the same time, make general public and different stakeholders aware that why should they switch to alternatives, which is a difficult ball game altogether, to make that switch from awareness to behavior change. It's a journey. So again, this will be a continuous work where municipalities, different stakeholders, governments, state urban departments, central governments will be engaged now for a year or more than that to ensure that that transition of switching to alternatives happens, and there is enough awareness around it, enough that it becomes, leapfrogs to behavior change, which really would be an important indicator of the progress that we will make on it. And apart from that, also transitioning industries, because clearly there's been a concern of various industries that were producing SUPs, and now what will they do? So perhaps, switching them to, say, an alternative industry. So perhaps if an industry was producing plastic carry bags or single-use plastic cutlery, how would we make the transition to that industry where these workers don't lose their jobs, these factory owners don't lose their jobs, but they also switch to alternative industries, which are alternatives to SUPs. So clearly a lot of work to ensure that this policy, these rules, these guidelines are successful and are there just not on paper, but get implemented. And clearly this involves everyone, not just the compliance and enforcement authorities or the monitoring authorities, but even the cooperation of people, of consumers, of generators, which actually have to make the switch and the transition. Right. So everything has to go hand in hand.
Right. So this basically also answers, apart from what kind of challenges the government would be looking forward to and what kind of measures for awareness generation towards the elimination of single-use plastics the government would be taking. But also, can you define a little more in how the different ministries and the stakeholders would be working in tandem, looking at the challenges and providing guidelines to promote the sense of cleanliness in especially our country?
So, of course, here different ministries are working hand in hand. So, for instance, we have the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change that is majorly responsible for guidelines and a lot of direction in terms of content and research on single-use plastics. At other part, we have Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, which is looking into various state urban departments and then various city municipalities, ensuring that Swachh Bharat mission gets implemented in city municipalities on time. Then we have the Central Pollution Control Board that is looking into compliance and enforcement and monitoring, especially when it comes to extended producer responsibility, which means looking into producers and manufacturers. Are they meeting their EPR credits? Are they logging into the EPR portal and putting in the details of how much SUP they have put out into the market and what is their target? How will they take it back? So clearly it is an integrated effort, both at the central level as well as at the state level, and then at the city level, as well as on the ground, the general public and various other actors, as well as industry. And it all has to go hand in hand to ensure that policies and these campaigns are successful. In terms of what's happening at the campaigning end, as I mentioned, a lot of it will happen as drives, be it cleanliness drives or competitions to create awareness, especially when it comes to schools and colleges or involving, students and in general youth in various campaigns together. But also when it comes to cities, a lot of work will happen, say, at Resident Welfare Association level, where RWAs would be roped in to ensure that systems are set up to create awareness, or housing society level, or at commercial level. So clearly it will be an integrated effort to rope in different stakeholders for various awareness and cleanliness drives.
Ma'am, I think we can saying that no campaign can be successful unless and until it becomes a people's movement. We thank you wholeheartedly from All India Radio for being a part of this discussion and enlightening us on the Clean India program that the government has initiated.
Thank you so much.
You were listening to a discussion on Clean India 2.0. The participants were Swati Singh Sambiyal, Environmentalist, and Renu Kataria, AIR Correspondent. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of All India Radio. You can listen to it on our mobile app, News on AIR. This program is also available on our YouTube channel, News on AIR Official. You may email your opinion about this program at airnsdtalks@gmail.com.